Hi everybody, this is BadgerPod Gamergate number 12. It came from the basement. What we're going to do here is one by one we are going to go up and we are going to describe what happened to us while we were being ejected from the panel on Friday. There's been a lot of conjecture about what has happened, what went on, and we will just say our side of the story essentially. Just our experience of it, and it's going to start. I will start, and then we will just go down the line and talk to each of us in turn. So here we go. Hopefully this this stream.
Hi everybody, this is BadgerPod.
Oops.
Okay, that's working.
Yep, the stream is working, so that's good. And now we shall move into. All right.
I missed the pedal.
Yeah, all right, my name is Allison Tiemann. I was expelled from the Calgary Comics and Entertainment Expo in 2015. I was expelled for allegedly harassing panel members during a panel on entitled "Women into Gaming." I'm not gonna say anything about that now. You guys can look at the panel in question in our feed, and also a segment of it to determine that for yourself, the validity of that allegation for yourself. On Friday morning, I had already heard word that something was coming down, so walking into the expo was one of the most, it was like walking into enemy territory. I have rarely felt that unwelcome in a place in my life since like my first year in university or my high school years, where I was bullied, and walking into school was like that every day. And so we walked from the doors to the booth, and we started, like, we were already concerned, so we had our recording devices on because of the heads up, and also because of what Hannah had said the day earlier, that we had heard staff remarking that a staff member and two women waiting at a booth saying they needed to shut it down. That was Thursday before the panel. We walked to the booth. We started to set up for the day, and then one of the Expo staff approached me. He said, "You got to get out of here. We want you out of the Expo." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "I'm not going to tell you on audio, or I'm not going to tell you with the recording device out." We do have a recording of everything up to that point. I gave the recording device to Hannah. I believe she either put it on the podium or simply turned it off. I don't recall what she did at that point for sure. Then he started to draw us away. Hannah, Sage, and Mike sort of moved with me, and my husband moved with me, and he said, "No, just her." And at that point I said, "Can I have my husband with me?" And he allowed that. So my husband and I, and the original member of the Expo staff, and the female member of the Expo staff, and two security guards took me to the side entrance. And I had actually got the feeling before this happened that we might be able to negotiate something, but as soon as we got to the side entrance, he basically said, "You're gone. You have been charged with harassment. We don't want you here. You gotta pack up and go." And at that point, we started to pack up our stuff. We were milling around for a bit, just in a little bit of shock, and then we started to pack up the stuff that we could pack up. Unfortunately, I didn't have my equipment to carry on everything because I had a very large, I think 24-foot backdrop of a scene from, or like just a scene from my comic that I had to take down. And I also had a very tall funnel, stretch spandex funnel with LEDs in it that I had put up. And then we also had a display that had my comics on it and all of the posters that we were selling. I forgot to say this, our banner had actually been covered up by the booth beside, and it wasn't their fault, they actually were wondering what they should do. But when they hadn't been there the first day, and when they set everything up the second day, they had to set it up over top the Gamergate banner, so at that time you couldn't actually see it. But we took it down, and this was before we were approached, we took it down, and we were deciding what to do with it, and then we just folded it up, put it aside, and then we were approached. So after that, after we were milling, trying to figure out what to do and pack up what we could, the Expo staff approached us again. During this entire time, there were security guards within about 7 feet of us, between 7 and 10 feet of us, watching what we were doing, like we were about to do something, like we were criminals. We couldn't take everything down. And the problem was, like I said, I had a lot of elaborate stuff that I had put up, that I had prepared for this booth, and we didn't have anything to take it down. So my husband had to leave to get the car, but the concern was they had also confiscated our badges when they told us we had to leave, so we couldn't actually get back in. And we didn't know how to do this because it would take multiple trips to put everything that we put up the booth. We didn't just have a table with a bunch of stuff on it. Like, I created an entire installation for this booth. So my husband went to get the car. We were milling around trying to figure out what to do. I'm sorry, I've opened up so many threads. And started to go further back, or they may have actually left. I'm sorry, our connection is pretty spotty, so we might be going in and out. So we talked again to this Expo staff. We got a dolly. They okayed my husband going into the back ramp behind the loading dock. We parked everything up on the dolly. In the process, I didn't have everything I needed to keep it safe. He found, we must have had the box for the supplies in the car. We found that, and we could take the racks down. We could take the backdrop down. We could take my funnel down, and we managed to pack it all up. Unfortunately, we had to do it really quickly, so I think there might be some damage to the panels, and we couldn't actually protect the funnel, and it has to be protected, and it was dragged across the ground. So we'll see when we unpack. But after that, after we emptied the booth, and I cleaned it up a bit, cleaned up all the whatever's remaining, the garbage off the floor. Hannah took a picture of me with a sign saying, "How is it different if feminists say go home, gamer girl?" underneath our banner, our Honey Badger Brigade banner. And then I got the Expo flag, I wrapped it around my shoulders, and I walked out to the back side entrance. That was very hard. I think it was at Hannah's suggestion so that she could take a picture of us leaving. And it was a very hard thing to do. But I did it to feel everybody watching me like that. And maybe they weren't, but it just felt like it at that point. After we left, we got the side door, we finished up packing in the loading dock. I got some money from my husband because we had come with so many people, we couldn't fit all of the stuff and the people in our car at the same time. So he left with the car, And one of the people in that stage who arrived with us, and we took the money and we walked to the sea change station and purchased tickets, and then we went home. Like, went to where I live, where we are living now. It didn't really end there, for me at least. At the first day, I didn't feel much of anything. It wasn't till the next day, really. It was a little bit blurry. I'm pretty sure it was the next day that my husband and I went to a camera store. No, actually, it probably was the same day because we left fairly early, so we would have had time to go to the camera store. And he's been trying to gather up equipment for a photo shoot that he wants to do. And when I went into the camera store, I felt like I had a scarlet letter on me. Like everybody who looked at me a little bit cross-eyed, I thought they know that I was expelled from this expo. And this is my hometown, so it's like, and I think part of the reason why is because, you know, you get a lot of the same crowd, artistic crowd in a photography store as you get in that. And Dawn, the particular photography store I was in, they had said they were going to the expo. So it was like, it was very humiliating and very isolating. For myself, my experience, I lost some of the trust that I had in the world, I think, that I had before this. And it doesn't seem like it's that big a thing, you just get expelled, but it is a huge statement, especially when you're treated like that. And there was no violence or anything, but it is supposed to be a safe space for people who enjoy creation, for people who enjoy being fans of it. But it didn't turn out to be that. And so I left, and that's when I started to cry again, is in the camera store. And that's when it really, like, it hit me somewhat in the expo, but that's when it really hit me. And I found myself being, I didn't actually go to the meetup on Saturday. I just couldn't handle it. I actually spent the entire day almost just sitting on the floor in a blanket. And I knew from my own experience that what I was experiencing was depressive thoughts. So eventually I knew I would have to get up and actually do something. And the second day I did go to the meetup, and I found myself really nervous about crowds. I found myself really nervous about being approached by anyone who I didn't actually know was part of this group. And I also found myself, like, we were talking to somebody who wanted to take footage of everything what we had to say. And he set up so we could see the stampede sign in the background. And there were 4 security officers there, and they made me really uncomfortable. And then when the cop was called, actually there was one cop car that just went back, and I was so relieved when it just went past us. And then when the cop came in, again, he was very nice. Like, he treated us probably one of the most nice guys and best treatment in this entire thing. He just asked us what our intentions were, and we explained that we were just meeting with our patrons who had spent a lot of money. One person had gone on a 36-hour bus trip just for 16 hours in Calgary just to meet us. And we explained that we were just trying to get a place close to the expo that was public, that they could just come and have a chat with us before they left, on another 36 hours to go home. And other people who had, and he had also fought social anxiety to come. And there were other people with the same boat, so we wanted to give him an opportunity to come meet us. And so the filmer was filming us, and he had the security guards in the background, and broke down again. I don't really like crying in front of other people, so I scurried away up the hill. Unfortunately, between the security guards, the bird watchers, and the group that I'm part of, that I actually don't really want them to see me cry. I couldn't find space. So I ended up, an older woman came over and said, are you okay? And then she gave me a hug. And she told me that I'd be okay. I said, I know. Thank you. And, yeah. I'm a little bit better, like I'm not. Okay. Yeah. You need to tilt it up. Mm-hmm. Is it locked? Or maybe what we can do.
Watch out, the computer.
Guys. We know, Hannah's in the shops.
You're in the shop.
Am I in the shop? Yes. Stand up back over.
Not hurtful nonsense. From my perspective, I watched one of my best friends get it. And I'll be honest, I came into this wanting to see what was going to happen. I wasn't expecting it to be specifically nice. I knew it could go either way. I've been watching feminists do crap like this all my life. I've been watching other women, other girls do crap like this all my life. So I knew this could happen, and I knew they could do worse. And I knew it could go better, just depended on how reasonable the people at the Expo are going to be. And I don't just mean the staff, I'm not talking about the staff, I mean the attendees. And it turned out that there were some people unreasonable and couldn't handle independent thought in a woman, and so they decided to knock her down. So when we walked in, I had an inkling of what we were facing. I did expect the security staff to be more fair about it, because I wasn't anticipating them believing that someone so rational and so unassuming and so reasonable to speak to was dangerous. But I know what a security team looks like when they're approaching someone that they've been told something terrible about. And I know what cops look like when they're approaching someone that they've been told something terrible about.
And honestly, that's what they look like. They looked like approaching us. They had very much the same posture and the same sternness and the same attitude as the Dayton area police officer that were sent to talk to my friend, and told by his ex-wife that he was a martial artist and he had a habit of violence and all kinds of things, when he was actually a diabetic, asthmatic, disabled man who had just had hernia surgery. So this really doesn't have the power to knock me down as far as emotionally knock me down, to take me down a peg. It has set me back on a 30-year battle against my temper. And that's been as much of a struggle as alcoholism is. And it took everything I had to not be what those women told the security guards we are. And I'm pretty convinced that they must have said some pretty terrible things about us for those guys to approach us like that. Because it's a job that when you do that job, your greatest hope going into work is for your job to be very boring that day. You know, aside from having interesting things to see at the expo, I'm sure they hoped that nothing would happen. So when they walked over to us and they said that they wouldn't tell us what was going on, my first thought really was, God, what the hell did they say about us? And I was hoping that, and in dealing with us and seeing that we were reasonable people, that would change. Obviously it didn't. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole story of it. You heard it from Allison. I didn't approach until after they had walked back and forth a bit. And then once in the isolation and we're continuing to talk, and it was pretty clear that Allison had been given a reason, then I walked over also. And that's when I heard that some of the accusations that they were taking so seriously were sent to them on social media. And I knew that this wasn't just, you know, people who felt something and decided to tell the security about it. This was people who talked among themselves and decided what to say. And, you know, it is the most skeezy and hypocritical and creepy thing that women like that do. The use of essentially a threat narrative, the thing that Allison has defined for our community as a weapon in political debate. They cannot answer us. They cannot handle what we have to say. And so they try to silence us, and they use false accusations to do it. And they have a pattern. Every time we come out, you don't get a response of figuring out how we're going to do this. They kept coming up and hassling us to get us out quicker so that they wouldn't be embarrassed by the image of kicking out a diverse group of women and men. The light just went off.
No, I just turned it off because the sound is really, the connection is bad, so I sometimes have to turn off the video to make sure that we can keep the sound.
Okay, so it's still running?
It's still on.
Okay. But a diverse group of women and men for having wrong think. And for no other reason. And it's considered harassment to have wrong think. And since the thing that was under discussion when Allison spoke up, at the moment that Allison spoke up, was MRAs. The wrong think that we're guilty of is acknowledging that men are human and that human rights and human dignity and the things that are supposed to be expectations that you have if you are a human being, that those apply to men as much as they do to women, and that it hurts both women and men. It hurts men more, but it hurts women as well if men are not recognized equally in those standards. As far as after we were leaving, I wanted Allison to wear that sign. I wanted her to wear that because that was her scarlet letter. That was the reason that we got kicked out. We got kicked out because after After years and years of feminists telling us that we criticize them too much and we don't want to have a dialogue and all we do is talk on the internet in our little forums and we don't actually do anything. We just sit at home in our basements. Here she was doing something. She stepped up and was willing to have a conversation, and they shut her down. So as far as I am concerned, that scarlet letter is a badge of honor. And walking out with that flag wrapped around her shoulders is a defiant act that says, I'm proud of this. I accomplished something. And honestly, what we accomplished is something that feminists can't do because they can't handle it. If they walked into a venue like this and something like this had been done to them, they would be wailing in the streets. They would be damseling like they were damaged for the rest of their lives. They would have post-traumatic stress disorder from it. They wouldn't be able to go outside. They wouldn't be able to go online. They would have been talking about how the experience made them feel raped, and they would expect it. Everyone on both sides of the fence be entirely sympathetic, and anybody that criticized anything they said about it would be criticizing because they hate women. What do we have here? We've had people criticize us simply for having feelings about the event, not for inciting a protest, which we ended up not doing because we didn't set out to, not for any attempt to incite any violence or proxy violence or anything like that, which feminists would have done, and we've seen it in the past. At university events in Toronto when Cafe Press attempted to have the wrong people come in and speak. And this is just crazy. Sorry, I'm here we have people accusing us of damseling because we acknowledge that it hurts or that it makes us angry, or that it was an adverse experience, without it doing any of the things that we talk about when we talk about damseling. And frankly, that's bullshit. Not that the whole thing wasn't bullshit, but that's absolute bullshit. It's like slapping someone across the face and then when they get tears in their eyes saying, you know, well, what are you, some kind of a wimp? You know, or here her ability to pursue that career, but she's not allowed to have feelings about it because she's an MRA. You know what? Fuck you. We are human. As for the rest of the weekend, I actually feel pretty good about it. Even though it was hard to not look around and see boogeymen around every corner. Right to the point where at one point we had a city truck stop by and park outside where we were staying, and I took a picture of it. And I was worried because I have had an experience in the past where I've been involved in a small town controversy. And as part of that controversy, I lived in a house that the city trucks did come and watch, and the police did come and watch. And that kind of brought that back a little bit. And then we saw another city truck go by, and they had all the flags and all the markers and everything that get used for street construction. And I just wanted to kick myself. But you don't want to be that paranoid, you know. You don't want to sit there and think, God, everybody's out to get me now. And at the same time, you don't want to be unprepared, because imagine how this would have turned out if we hadn't had that recording. They could have said anything. So things like that occurred all weekend. When we approached the park, I had the same thoughts about the crowd of people there. I looked to see if any of them had, you know, any kind of signs or any funky colored hair, or if they were in cosplay, and wasn't sure if they were social justice types. And then as we got closer, we could see they were old people, and they were just there enjoying the park, and it was a relief. And when the officer came around, and my first gut reaction was to be worried, even though I had the judgment of what was, to be able to tell what was going on, and be able to figure out, here's a guy just doing his job. There's still that lurch in your gut. What's going to happen now? What are they up to now? It's something that just doesn't go away. And but we got to do some things that I don't think we'd have been able to do without the events taking the turn that they had. I think we got more one-on-one time with people that came to see us. We definitely got a lot more press, and well, I offer a big fuck you to the feminists that did this to us for getting us shut out of the conference. I would like to genuinely thank them for the publicity, because that's really helped to spread the message quite a great distance further than it would have gone had they just left us alone. So that was a great gift they gave us. And even though it was a nerve-wracking gift, because I'm not really used to dealing with this much at all. But in the end, the biggest thing I'm left with, as far as remembering what happened, is I'm angry about it, and I can't think about it without getting angry. I was able to comfort Allison, and I'm glad I was. But I just wanted to explode and tell everybody off in that room, and say anything that came into my head, and most of the things that were coming into my head were entirely inappropriate. And I'm still angry, and that's why you haven't heard a whole hell of a lot from me online. I will wait until I can be fully rational before I discuss too much more about this. And I know that what I'm saying is not said in anger, but simply an analytical approach to the issue. So I guess who's next?
Well, before we go to the next one, I think I want to show something, and I'm probably going to have to repeat myself, because apparently they couldn't hear me. I had it on the wrong speaker setting while I was talking, but I want to show people something. He's been saying that we went in stealth,
Incognito.
and incognito, and the organizers didn't know who we are. This is the official program guide for the Calgary Expo 2015. See, I haven't done anything to the pages. This was just picked up by us during the convention. I've opened it up to the correct page. People are going to have to help me if I'm doing this right. Hold it closer. Closer? Okay, back a little bit. I can't read it. You can't read it? Out of focus problem. Is that really out of focus? Where there? And it's kind of reversed. Doesn't matter. They can reverse it in their own mind. So I'm going to go to before building, wrong one. Right there. Can you see that? Honey Badger Brigade, BF 28 or 3821. Right in the program. Yep. You can see that? Yes. You can see that. They'll have to reverse it, but yes, that is right in the Expo's program. They knew who we were. And I'm going to be keeping this, and we'll be keeping the badges that we still have that have Honey Badger written on them. And Hannah has taken a picture of the sign that was in our booth that said Honey Badger Radio. Regardless of the fact
regardless of the fact that when I originally registered the booth, I didn't know what I was going to publish my comic book under, and I thought that the booth was mostly going to be about my comic. So I used the name that I thought I would publish my comic book under, Insert Media, and then I've later changed that to Honey Badger Brigade. If you scan in the ISBN number on the Xenospora webcomic, on the back of the Xenospora webcomic, it is published by Honey Badger Brigade. I forgot, and I didn't remember again until we put on the fundraiser and the patrons started to tell me, hey, why does this go to your website? I was embarrassed because I thought people would think that I had intended to send traffic to my website. So I contacted the con organizers and I said, can I change the name? I have emails of this exchange. They said yes. I got them the name. They changed the name. They printed up everything with Honey Badger Brigade on it. There was no infiltration. The stealth mode was a joke. At the very most, you could say that I did it because I was embarrassed, because I'd forgotten for that length of time. And people had gone there who had paid for us to be there and said, well, why isn't that? They knew before we walked through those doors who we were. They knew when they handed us our badges. They knew when they hung that sign. And they knew when I contacted them to change that name. And they knew when they printed this program. We were not in stealth mode. We did not infiltrate anything, and we hid nothing. And I just wanted to say that. And I will go again because I know that you haven't heard me, but I believe that Brian is next.
I thought it was
We're
Mike.
Okay, Mike,
directly
sorry.
across from customer service, by the way.
Yeah, and we
Keep away
spent
from it.
the entire time right across from customer service.
Yeah.
So Brian, would you please, or should Mike? You two are so alike.
Hi, I'm not Brian.
Both white men.
Can,
I know, right?
can I be seen from here?
You might have to.
This is what happens when I'm a comedian. I've done lots of sort of open mic nights, and what happens when I go there is because you want to get a 5-minute slot. I spend most of the time in the night sat in the back corner of the room, sort of playing around with my phone, trying not to be seen or anything. But then when my name gets called, a flip switches in my brain, and I think, right, well, at this point, Mike, it's your job to entertain these people. It's your job to leave these people happier than when you started. Which ironically sounds like the opposite of what it is. It's no longer about you now that you're being watched. So on the Friday, when we came in, we didn't quite know what was going to happen at first, so I was milling around, wondering what was happening with the security guards talking to us. I didn't know exactly what was happening until the game came back from that first encounter, and I was stood in the booth, and the main security fellows said, right, you have to pack up and get your stuff out immediately. That was, at that point, I sort of froze up and had a hot flush at the same time, which I've since then managed to define as that was me getting sad and angry at the same time. Now, I get angry a lot of the time for the cameras. I get sad sometimes, but I don't often get sad and angry at the same time. And then we had to pack up the booth, which is much like when we were packing up. I mean, when we were setting out the booth, but considerably worse when you consider the feeling of not having anything to do, not being able to do anything. If you can imagine being stood to the side, everyone else is packing things up, and you're going, I have nothing to do. It's an unpleasant feeling. Not just not doing anything, but not being able to do anything. And ever since Friday, I've had the weird feeling like you're on the verge of, not even on the verge of tears, but you can't even express the tears because you feel like you should do something before you do. Video that he made today. Look, we support you in what you do. What happened was wrong, and for doing what I didn't have the time to do, or the, I don't know, whatever to do. And we often mock feminists for needing their hug boxes, for needing their echo chambers, and then we go on and talk about how much we hug, because we did hug quite a lot. I remember when Hannah was comforting Alison, they were pretty much hugging on the floor, and at that moment in time, Sage and I were hugging, both with presumably quite red, shaky faces. And, you know, since then we've talked about, you know, people have asked me to give Alison a hug, and, you know, on that video, people have commented several times, give her another hug, will you? There's been a dog pile of hugs ever since then. And that's because we don't have hug boxes. We live on far ends of corridors, thousands of miles away. That's why we like hugging each other, because there aren't many of us, and we're very socially awkward people. So I'm terribly sorry that, you know, of this hypocrisy of ours, that we mock you for needing your hug boxes in every university in the world, in every school in the world, and for having your hug boxes, and for then going and saying, oh, how awesome it is hugging each other. So, yeah, I like clearing up little inconsistencies and hypocrisies, because I don't like hypocrisies. So I thought I'd clear that one up. I need a cigarette.
Okay, Brian.
Okay.
Sometimes I have to turn off the feed just to preserve bandwidth. So
I
just so you know.
Yeah, I don't usually stand in front of cameras. I don't like to, but I will, you know, this weekend I've been in front of a lot of cameras. So I guess I'll just relate what I recall. I was intended to be part of the second shift on that Friday. And so the night before, we did a stream for you guys. Everybody was in high spirits. We went back to our condo space, you know, planned everything out, and everything was great. That morning, we started hearing from Rachel about things that were going on Twitter that were alluding to us possibly being evicted. I am the kind of person that usually tries to, is like a glasses half full kind of guy. So my thing was, let's not jump to conclusions until we get there. And, you know, and that it was partly because I thought to myself, there is a very high probability that there will be an attempt to evict us. But I didn't think that they would do it this quickly and without much resistance on the end of those who are in charge of who stays and who goes, and without them at least having a conversation with us and trying to get our side of the story. All things considered, this wouldn't happen that easily. However, it turned out that before we even arrived at the building, the display, the booth that Allison had put so much time and effort and money into was about halfway dismantled. And, you know, I had arrived in time for my second shift, which was essentially helping to finish dismantling it and getting it out. Spirits were very low. I tried to be as cheerful as possible and, you know, try to keep us looking at the bright side of things. I even, because Anna was coming with us as part of that shift, I asked her to pose in front of the dismantling of our booth display because she was wearing her Vivian James costume, and I thought I should make a statement. I have the opportunity, I have the drive, I'm gonna do this now. I want to let everyone know what's happening in real time to express myself. You know, I'm a visual guy. I want to use imagery. I didn't have time to do a drawing, so I took a photo, and that was my way of sending the message I wanted people to know. It was tough. I mean, you know, it was very disheartening. I really had hoped that we would get to speak to more of our patrons in the convention, at the expo, you know, and maybe even get just curious parties interested in either the Xenospora comic or what we do at the Honey Badger Brigade, or both, you know, just like have the dialogue and see what falls out. I thought that there was a lot of opportunity to do that. And I was really looking forward to meeting the patrons, and I was especially looking forward to meeting the rest of my friends here. So, the posse, yes, because I never met them, and it was like super exciting. And you know, I'm not disappointed at all. They're incredible people, but you guys probably know that already. So anyway, we took everything apart. We were rushed out the door. It actually caused us to make some errors in like what we were, you know, left things behind. Things got misplaced and put. And of course, my thoughts were, the reasoning behind that was that perhaps the security didn't want us to be seen taking something down while customers were just entering it, because of what it might stand. But it also could be, you know, just to save us some embarrassment too, because if people saw us being evicted on the first real day, because Thursday is kind of like, it tends to be the slower day, and Friday is where it really becomes like a big deal. You know, there's a line around the corner waiting to get inside. So I'd like to believe that, and at least when it comes to the staff and stuff. But you know, going back to I guess the overall feeling of it, we just sort of went back to our homes or where we're staying, you know, to regroup and think about what had happened. And I have to say that on the plus side, everybody's talking about it. We actually got really lucky. Right after I took the photo, there was a patron, a person who was in the convention that stopped at our booth, and he was hoping to get some merchandise. He was hoping to meet us, and he got very lucky and caught us at the end. And you know, we had him take some pictures and buy some things. And he was actually the guy who started the Expo date. Wait, it was great, you know, that just became a wildfire. I hope that, and we all know this is part of a larger problem that Allison and Hannah and Mike and everybody else is going to make that point very clear. So I don't want to like retread that territory. So, but I think that we've managed to get the conversation started and going to a much greater effect than we would have if they would just left us alone. So I don't know. I guess time will tell whether or not this was worth it. But I'd like to believe it is, and I think that, you know, you guys listening in and those of you who did videos about this, like I'll just name some people that I looked at, like Mundane Matt and V Monroe and the Tales from the Infrared, and even Sargon talked about it, and anybody who I missed, thanks very much for talking about this and making this message clear. And I don't know what else to say. I mean,
Just go.
Okay.
Leave through the doors.
All right.
No, you don't have to go.
Well,
I'll come
everybody else is going out there and hanging out there, so.
No, I'll come back.
All right, so Karen wants to speak.
Karen's here?
Yeah, Karen has actually joined Karen has joined the,
She's here in spirit.
Yes. She's right here next to me. Can't you see her?
I'm
Yeah,
live.
Yes, you-
I'm live on remote from Edmonton's Majestic Used Hubcap District. Not really, but
Camera, Karen.
I'm here, and I wanted to just explain why am I coming through the honey badger thing? That's just fucking weird. Anyway, I just wanted to explain, like, I know how optimistic so many of the people involved in Honey Badger Brigade, Honey Badger Radio are. I know that they go out of their way every single freaking day to have faith in human nature, to have faith in people and their ability to do the right thing, and all of that. It gets depressing sometimes, I know, but they really, really try and keep, positive attitude, and that's totally not me. That's not what I am, and so I understand why everybody sort of were thinking that we would be allowed to do this. I was just like, yeah, no, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We will be kicked out, no matter how well we behave. And interestingly, that doesn't make me a glasses half empty person. It makes me a life hands you lemons, make lemonade kind of person. The glass is both half empty and half full. It's just all depending on what you're going to do with it. And I remember talking to Allison's father at the house about this whole fiasco and assuring him that, it really sucks, and I understand what she's going through, and I understand how rejected and that she feels. I totally get that, but this is actually, us getting kicked out is actually not a terrible, terrible thing. It's not the worst thing in the world. There's going to be so much buzz over this. There are going to be so many people looking at her comic because of this, and it sucks that it had to happen this way. But I believe she deserves attention, and now she's getting it, and she's getting a lot of positive attention out of this. So there you go. And if any of you want to go to the News Talk 7070 website, I'm sure they have a website where they have archives of their shows, and listen to the broadcast of her interview. She is absolutely astounding. She was astounding in the panel at the convention. She was absolutely brilliant. She said it so concisely. She said it way more concisely than I could, and was so eloquent about what she was trying to convey. And the fact that they saw it as trash that needed to be kicked out the freaking back door just shows what kind of people they are. She was so reasonable and so calm and so erudite and so eloquent. And she was absolutely the same way. I listened to her 20-minute or so interview on talk radio in Calgary this morning, and it was absolutely stunning how well she represents the point of view that we have, which is that we don't want anybody to be silenced, not feminists, not conservatives, not Christians, not anybody. So we want everybody to have a chance to have their voice heard. And it was just absolutely gorgeous, and that's why we love her so much. And that's why I hope that out of this fiasco will come something that is highly productive, and not just for her and her comics, but for the ideas and all of that. So I would say to all of the honey badgers that I abandoned this afternoon because my son has tonsillitis, that you should just take what you've been dealt and turn it into something awesome the way you always do, because that's what we do. We take the shit we're dealt, we sift through it, and we find the diamond, and then we wear it. So that's really, I guess maybe that's all I have to say. At least at this point.
I don't have the camera on at the moment, but I do have the microphone open.
All right.
Just speak into the microphone, yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's Anna Cherry. Up to this point, kind of, if you think of a general in a war and you're going forth and your soldiers are dying and you can't really stop and mourn because you have to keep going. You have to win the war. You have to win the battle. And so it's been pretty much like that for the past few days, but having to do this now and having to do interviews, and I'm really not used to presenting anything other than a cheerful, everything's great face, because that's just how I prefer to live and see the world. But there's a reason why the other side damsels, why our current other side damsels so much, because the squeaky wheel does get the attention. And if we don't show the pain that's been caused to us, then nobody will necessarily take the time to look into it. And at a certain point, you have to stand up and say that we are human. If you prick us, we bleed, we hurt. And I have more on that later. But so now it's time to mourn, and so I made the decision to be okay with showing my emotions, which is not something I'm used to, unless it's tears of gratitude, in which case it will be tears of sadness and disappointment, because I'm a huge nerd, massive con lover, ever since my first exposure to, I believe, Mid-South Con and then Dragon Con 2008. Maybe Dragon Con was the first, I'm not sure. And since then, it's been a yearly experience. It's something that I save my money for every year. It's something I look for. Getting into cosplaying as a cosplayer, it's something I put my money and time and effort. Me and my partner both put our money and time and effort to build cosplay that I can have fun in. And so this experience, an excursion out to Canada, my first time in Canada, I was extremely excited about that. And of course, taking, I was reimbursed by the crowdfunding for the ticket and my stay here in the con, but of course, putting money into being away from work and the costumes, it was, overall on the balance, somewhat of a financial hit, but it didn't matter to me at all, because I get to go to a con. That's, I always have to spend a little bit of money on the con. It's what happens, and it's a great opportunity to be able to debut my cosplays. I made cosplays specifically for this event. I was going to wear on Saturday. I was really looking forward to, and we had a great time on Thursday. Everybody enjoyed themselves and had a pleasant experience, and I was very pleasantly surprised. My cynicism was pleasantly surprised by the how well we were received, and given that we're sitting right across from the customer service and our booth was there, and I was in a honey badger outfit on the first day with the mask and of our logo, and we had a beautiful, gorgeous display that was there, and all the Vivian art on the poster and some shirts, and it was great time. Everybody was nice, and it was Rachel's first time as well, and I was really looking forward to not only experiencing Canada and Calgary Con for the first time, but also being at a con with someone whose first time it is, because it really brings back that joy, of the con. So that was my personal, this thing that happened. I'm still in shock over how little actually occurred to warrant such an egregious. Okay, so I didn't get to enjoy the con, and 5, 6, 8, actually total of 8 people got their exhibitor badges taken without any kind of other badge or VIP ticket or anything given to actually be able to enjoy the con as visitors. We were not given any opportunity such as that. So that was extremely disappointing, and having to pack up and leave on behalf of my friend, on behalf of Honey Badgers, that I came here to support, and to see how much work and love was put into this display, and also that we were here as to create a community and a space for to show people that it is okay to come out and to discuss their ideas and to stand for creative expression and freedom of ideas and open market of ideas, in fact, and something that is supposed to be the perfect avenue for it, comics and nerd expression. And to be able to provide that community and show that we're here and that, you know, everybody's welcome and true, you know, equality, Expo equality, we were there for that. And to see us kicked out for that, and for being MRAs, I guess, for saying that men have rights and men have feelings and they're human too, and we should maybe not be evil to them. To not only be kicked out for that, but to have someone who put in so much into her project and this display and this booth, and monetarily and emotionally, and not to mention, well, I'll get to that later, and just to see all of that ripped away and all of the financial opportunities and denied alone, and to see that happen to someone that I've grown close to is another thing altogether. And actually focusing on somebody else's pain really helped me ignore all this, and really helped me not get stuck into the mental negative spiral of how much I've lost, how much we've all lost, how much money was spent, how many people tried to come and see us, how many people could only afford to come on Sunday, and we're really looking forward to the cosplays and to everything. And to have that done to us for what? And so the thing about it is, nerd cons and conventions like this, for people like us, they are a safe place. They are a place of trust and of love and of letting go of our anxieties, because we know that there will be people there like us, that we're all struggling together to overcome anxieties and to bond. And it makes it easy, actually, to bond over topics that we all grew up loving. And for these specific individuals who are involved in banning Allison and kicking the whole booth out, have violated that trust. And shame on you. Shame on you for bringing that into our place, into a place of love and inclusion, and a place where we can love and be okay with each other. Shame on you. And I will maintain the positive attitude, which I was sticking with, the attitude that this is actually great for us in a certain way. It shows that the message that we were there to spread really needs to be said right now, this very now, that there is a silencing hand over the mouths of gamer girls, of anyone who doesn't fit the narrative, man, woman, minority, doesn't matter who it is. If the status quo, I just, and I've been focusing on that. I've been focusing on the good that came out for us in terms of press coverage and in terms of pointing out the hypocrisy of certain people that are involved in what has traditionally been known as a nerd safe space. And I will not let this stop me or give me a negative feeling about other conventions. I will continue to see and expect the good and the open-mindedness in other places that I go. And hopefully this will not happen again. And that's all I have to say.
No, okay. I guess you guys want to save the best for last.
Well, I might have to speak as well.
Oh, yes. Well, sorry, it's second to last. I guess I can say something. I think, God, where does one even begin to talk about this? Because I guess to really get where I'm coming from, you have to understand how I deal with things, because I'm used to being around people freaking out, and when people are being really emotional, it's a little bit easier to sort of be standoffish and be avoidant, and not, you get to the point where you sort of try to not feel the feelings and go into the sort of stoicism to deal, because you know that you have to sort of be strong for other people, because you know exactly how they feel, and you know what it's like to be socially awkward and to be suicidal or depressed or to hate yourself so much that you want anything to think to keep you going. And for me, when I was younger, the thing that pretty much saved my life was geek culture, was the comics and the fantasy books, everything. And so coming to a convention for the first time and being part of the Nerdcast and doing all these things, I felt like I was myself for the first time, and I didn't have to be anybody else. I didn't have to just hide in the corner and pretend like I was invisible. I could be me. And I traveled a very long way, not nearly as far as Mike, though. He traveled across an ocean to be here. But I traveled across the United States, and this is actually the second time that I've traveled by air, because I've never had that sort of money. And I think I can describe it this way. I remember going in the plane and seeing all the little houses as we went into Calgary. And from a distance, they seemed so peaceful. But I knew deep down there were going to be people there that just had so much misunderstanding. I had this deep desire to bridge that divide between them, to find some sort of common goals. And that's why I got with the honey badgers. Because I'm a fucking wretched idealist. And so going there, I knew in the back of my mind that there was a possibility that something could go down. But in the moment, looking out of the plane, everything seemed really peaceful. And I said to my people, you can't think that these things are going to happen going in, because if you do, you can't operate. And I pull back a lot, and people think I don't, in some situations, don't think I'm a very emotional person. I'm really good at holding things together, or I'm the silly one. And because that's how I deal, because I want to make other people happy. And so when I went, I wasn't too afraid to approach us. But I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking how happy everyone was in that moment. And there were these people who came to the booth, and they were, some of them had serious anxiety and problems that they,
Okay, I think we've got it back up.
Okay.
Continue.
All right. So when we were going, we're driving out there, Brian was still, optimistic because he probably believed like I did that they were going to ask some questions and then they'd find Allison and everything, and, not being the horrible person that they were saying online. And they seemed to revel online in the idea that we were being shut down. And all I knew what to do was to tell the people who had, sent us out here, like, listen, they're trying to shut us down. Maybe you guys, can say, listen, we're not a hate group or something. So I said that. All I knew what to do in this situation was to try and be on social media because no one else was probably doing it as hard at the moment. But when we were going on our way and I was recording, hoping that when I turned the corner, the booth was going to still be there and that we weren't going to have any problems getting in. We didn't, but we were worried that was a possibility. And turning the corner, everybody was already tearing things down, and I already knew what was going on. It was so ridiculous because we were within five feet, I think, or just a little more than that, of the staff table, who saw everything that we did, and which was nothing more than talking to people who only wanted to have those discussions. I wandered around on the first day, talking to different exhibitors and things like that, and they wouldn't have known that I'm an MRA. I just talked to them about Sherlock and Doctor Who, and I complimented them on their artwork because, I know what it's like to be work, So I complimented those. I thought we're doing a good job, and I said, listen, you're doing fantastic. Don't worry. And so seeing them take it down, I was kind of, it's like an out-of-body experience. I'm like, they can't possibly be taking it down. We'll talk to them. We'll do something. No. And they were already publishing articles, and nobody asked us. Nobody interviewed us about all this. No. They already had the narrative, and they were playing it up. And I left outside because I was hoping to maybe upload the video or something, but I decided against it. It was too much. So all I knew then to go back inside and try and haul things onto the dolly and help Allison out. But it didn't hit me until I saw the MD booth. Everything was gone. And the thing many people don't know is my boyfriend does the coloring for Xenosphora. He goes in and colors every single panel. He puts hours of work in. And he, had sleepless nights in some cases where he just, can't sleep until the work is done. And in his mind, and it's him, it's his work ethic. He can't let certain things go. He's got to finish something. It's a little bit obsessive, but And thinking I'm gonna have to tell him what really happened. I haven't told him the full part of it because he's been in another country. And he lives in another country. I don't. It's hard to really put it into words. And I walked out with Allison, and there was that feeling of powerlessness because I couldn't make them happy. I didn't know how to make things better. And all I could think of is, we got to do a meetup or something. We got to do a meetup, and we're going to meet all these people. And it was fantastic. And for we had something back, and that was the thing that I enjoyed about all this, is meeting you who sent me here, a normal person. All I do every week is use what I know how to do, and that's right, to do my part in all this, to make this right, to sort of bridge the divide between the genders, because I know what it's like to have betrayal that is so painful and deep that you can't express it. And that you are entirely inconsolable, and all you can do to people is just sort of hold it inside and pretend like nothing's wrong. And so I listen to people's stories when I go on these excursions, and
I think we missed, it dropped out while you were talking about going around the con and
Yeah.
looking at people's stuff. Maybe go back to
okay. Yeah.
the first day you went around people's booths.
Yeah. Yeah, the first day I went around people's booths, and I just talked about Narish stuff. They didn't know that I was they didn't know what my politics were. Why would they? I just talked about Doctor Who and anime and my interests, and I complimented people's artwork, and I said, and I seriously considered buying some of their wares. I was even on extra special behavior because I didn't want to put anyone in jeopardy, the people who sent us out here. But we turned that corner and everything was gone. We the second time, because the first time, it was half down, and when I came back, it was torn down, everything, and they had to get out of there so quickly, and I saw Allison and them, and I knew even those who weren't in tears or visibly upset, I knew that they were kind of shell shocked, and I didn't know how to make them feel better. I didn't know what to do. And so I stood behind a camera, my phone camera, for a good portion of the, packing things up, and then sending Allison off, and Hannah and them. And the only thing that's made all of this better is getting to meet you guys. You who sent me here. You guys who believed in me. And that's why I come to these things. I come for you. I don't do this for fame or recognition or money, because even though I don't really have very much of that, I do this because I see myself in the people that come to us who have felt this deep pain it's indescribable, where you do anything to just escape it for a little while, because if you thought about it all the time, you just wouldn't be able to function. And I know what that feels like. And maybe somehow, if I speak into the void, they'll know that they're not alone. And so, I feel like a part of what was taken away from us that day was given back when we were able to meet these people and go to the bar and hang out with them and drink with them, eat with them, hear their stories. And it's always so weird, because for a moment it's weird feeling like a weird kind of celebrity. It's strange, it's bizarre to me. And a big dork. I, in some cases, just slink away because I'm afraid that if anyone knew that I was just this socially awkward, anxiety-ridden, clinically depressed individual, they wouldn't look up to me as much. But all I can do is listen and write, and that's what I've been doing. And I felt terrible knowing that my pictures were being tweeted by these people. They're like, "Oh, disgusting. The work that everybody worked on so hard and killed themselves making. Disgusting."
Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Hey.
All right. I heard that when I made my statement, we lost some of the audio on the recording. So I will. Everybody knows the events now, so I won't go through it again. And I'll say that it didn't end when we were evicted. After we took the C train home, I still felt a sense of being completely alienated from the society around me. It was very you don't know who's staring at you because they just are part of these belief systems, and they're looking at you like you have that scarlet letter of being a social outcast. And I've experienced that before. I've experienced that throughout my working, throughout high school, throughout earlier years in school, part of college, just that behavior of being dehumanized and not being seen as human. And when even after the convention, when I just went to a camera store for my husband to try to find some cables that he's working on, creating a new method of taking pictures. And I was walking in the camera store and people would be looking at me, and I didn't know if they were thinking of me as being less than human. And because I knew that there were so many articles out there, and I haven't read any of them, but I know that they exist, that were essentially calling me despicable and disgusting and a horrible person. And as much as I will not stop advocating for what I believe in, I won't say that that doesn't affect me. And maybe it's not giving a fuck, but giving a fuck, but still badgering on. But something that they could experience and could put a smile on their face and they could enjoy and have fun with. So I always created these installations that had an element of gaming in them, an element of choice for the audience, for the people who went through it, or were just a really, really cool experience. I've always loved creating installations. I've always loved the thought of people going through something I've created and having fun with it. So over the 5 months, I built that 24-foot backdrop. I actually got it printed. I didn't build it myself. I got it printed. I figured out how to do what kind of effect that I wanted in. I wanted to show something really. I always loved working in LEDs, so I wanted to do something really cool with LEDs. And I researched all kinds of stretch shapes that I could put LEDs in to create something really beautiful. And I found this funnel shape, and it looks somewhat like the spaceships, some of the spaceships that I use in my store, and I thought that would be really cool. And then my husband helped me with the programming, the LEDs, and also the construction of it. It's a lot of his work in this as well. And so I erected that. I probably put too much into it. We ended up having to strip part of it down because it just didn't look like it was going to work. But what was left was, I thought it was really nice. It was really cool. I enjoyed looking at it, at least. I hoped other people would enjoy it too. To say that I only went there to cause a disruption, why would I have built such an extensive installation? I honestly thought I would be able to be there. I honestly thought I would be able to be there for 4 days and people could see what I had made. If you really think that we went there just to infiltrate a culture that we love, and we build things for, and we create for, and the people that want to see us and experience the same problems that we have, and we are building these things for them. We are infiltrating this culture. Why would I have created such an elaborate display? I was doing it because I want to see people happy. I want to see people enjoy themselves. I don't want to see them afraid, and I don't want to see them silenced. And I saw people who were terrified to come to our booth. Those signs, you say you're about equality. That isn't equality. So I put a lot of work into that. I thought it was pretty cool. I was looking forward to showing the patrons, specifically Bend On Sex, because I named the super umbrella after him. That's what we called it while I was constructing it, because I did a few test runs to just make sure that I could build it. And I was looking forward to show it to him. Of course, I had to dismantle it before he could come because he was going to only be there for Sunday. But I was also looking forward to sharing it with everybody else there. And I was also looking forward to sharing it with my fellow hosts. I was actually really proud of it. I was looking forward to them seeing it. And now that they're telling me that they really liked it, actually I'm really happy that they did. Anyway. I want to create with fellow creators. I want to see creators free to create what their vision. And I don't want to see fans or people in the community afraid. I will stand and try to stop that wherever I see it. No one should be at a convention and afraid to go to any booth. That's not what the space is for. And the fact that it's become that, the question really is, who is the infiltrator? And you know what? No one is. Because all you have to do is open your heart to just people and just accepting them, even if they have opinions that differ from yours. We're all human beings. We all love, well, not all of us love cat photos, but a good portion of us love cat photos or dog photos. I think that covers everyone. Or baby photos. You know, we all love cute things, unless we're sociopathic, but, you know, they have their own problems. We all bleed. We all want to have fun. We all want to connect. And we all want to feel safe. And we also all want to be able to express ourselves. And that's what I want. And that's what I want for this community. I think I'll stop. I think that's it.